Let's get into Put Up Your Bukes. We talk about Steve Buchanan's favorite plays on tonight's slate. And Nick Friar says, Steve, I think you're crazy, or Steve, I agree with you. Steve, let's start out by giving us your pitcher. I guess Nick's really good against you. He's 8-5 against your picks.
Yeah, I mean, nobody really cares about that. I mean, we're here to get information. You divulge into the information we give you. You choose to fade or follow. Like, that's just the name of the game. So there's nothing to get all excited about. You can't even mute your YouTube. So let the professionals talk, and we'll get into some information. Let's start off with Sean Manaea. Quiet. Let's start off with Sean Manaea going against the Seattle Mariners. Seattle Mariners are going to win the AL West, but it doesn't mean they have to win every single game along the way. And they're in a tough spot tonight against Manaea, who scored 41 DraftKings fantasy points against them earlier this season. It was his best start of the season by throwing 9 shutout innings with 8 strikeouts against this team. He's also been slightly better on the road, 274 WOBA, 3.03 FIP. Some really good numbers when he's away from Oakland. So I think this is a great spot for him tonight against the Mariners, who, again, they're a fine team. They're still going to win the AL West, but they struggle against lefties and they strike out a lot. So there's a lot of strikeout upside with Manaea tonight. So he's my guy that I'm going to on this 8-game slate.
Nick Friar, on board, or are we pivoting?
Well, I think Steve raises obviously an important point with what Manaea did last time out, but I'm actually not going with him tonight for Sean Manaea. As much as the Mariners have the 18th highest OPS against left-handed pitching this month, which is obviously not great. They are 7th in ISO against left-handed pitching in July, and they're middle of the pack in plate appearances per strikeouts. So as much as Manaea had success against them last time, it was a little while back, I'm not necessarily expecting him to go and be that dominant again. And when you look at his price tag, I feel like you can save a little bit elsewhere or save with your pitching. And I like Blake Snell tonight, and I have a feeling Steve's going to laugh at that. Surprising he hasn't already. 7.8K versus the Marlins tonight, and they're not good against left-handed pitching. Bottom of the barrel against OP in terms of ISO and OPS against left-handed pitching this month, and they are striking out more than anybody against left-handed pitching this month. I know Blake Snell has been frustrating for all of us this season who've backed him in DFS or whatever, but this is a start tonight where he should at least live up to his price tag.
Steve, your favorite infielder on tonight's slate?
You have a really weird background, by the way. Just something about the pink curtains and stuff just doesn't work well with the show. You got to think about changing that. I like Xander Bogaerts tonight going up against the Yankees. Xander Bogaerts against lefties at Fenway Park has just been downright stupid. When you look at the numbers that he's posted, it's just been absolutely incredible. A 470 WOBA, a 328 isolated power, and a 199 WRC plus. Tonight, he gets to face Jordan Montgomery, who, I'm not pointing any fingers, but, since the middle of June, we'll say, all of a sudden his production has kind of slipped a little bit. I'll let you make your conclusions from there, but just think about the timeline, and then all of a sudden he can't really pitch too well. I'll leave it at that. But Xander Bogaerts has been consistent at home all season long, especially against lefties. That is the preferred split for him. Hitting in the heart of that Red Sox lineup, I think he's one of the top options overall on this slate from a hitting perspective. But when it comes to the infield, he is the top guy for me tonight.
So, Nick, you can pivot, you can go on board, you can also give me a home improvement lesson as well, please. Say whatever you want now.
Well, I was going to add on to that. I think that Steve's just his thing. He likes to go and pick apart people's backgrounds, and Glasheen, today it's just you that's taking it, because usually he's making fun of me. I'm actually hiding my clock now because he likes to make fun of it so much.
That's a clock?
Yeah, that's a clock. It tells 3 different times.
You have antlers. Oh, okay.
Oh, no, it looks like he disassembled a bike and put it on his wall. That's what it looks like.
Go ahead. Steve's got his little gaming chair over there, and he's got a little jetpack on it. He flies around, and he wanders around Major League Baseball and gives his takes when he goes to MLB Network, too. So please, on the subject of Xander Bogaerts, keep going.
Yes, well, I'm going to try and stay consistent with myself, and I'm going to go against Steve here. As much as I do like Xander Bogaerts, I think the top infielder tonight is going to be Josh Donaldson. He's coming off a pair of games with he has a pair of home runs since the All-Star break, 940 OPS against left-handed pitching this season, and he's going up against Andrew Heaney, who I like picking on. I used Mitch Haniger against him the other day, and he went off. And then Donaldson, I know he's only faced Heaney a couple times, but still, he's got a home run in 7 plate appearances. So this is a guy who I feel a little bit more comfortable backing than Bogaerts. It's not a bad play, obviously, and Montgomery is a guy who I want to pick on today, but Donaldson is my top infielder pick.
Okay, Steve, let's go to outfield.
Yeah, so we're going to go with Brendan Lau here. And the nice thing about him is you can use him in the infield if you like. You can put him at second base, or you can use him in the outfield if you like. Whatever tickles your fancy. But regardless of where you put him, I love his numbers against righties. He's someone that has over 20 home runs. You never really feel like anybody talks about him, but he's been a great power force for the Rays all season long. Now he's going up against a righty Quantrill, he has a 385 WOBA, 283 isolated power against them. Against righties so far this season, only 4,600 batting from the left side. I just feel like this is a name that's going to kind of fly under the radar. You're not really going to, get a lot of ownership on Lau, but at least in the month of July, only 13 games played, 5 home runs, 2 doubles, 10 RBI. That's only in 13 games. The guy is not only just hitting, he's hitting for a ton of power, batting from the left side. One of my favorite outfield plays for the night.
Nick, on board with Brandon Lau, or are we pivoting?
Well, I'm on board with targeting Cal Quantrill tonight with an outfielder from the Rays lineup, but I'm actually going to go with Austin Meadows instead of Lau because he's a little bit cheaper, and I know he's been slow since the start of the All-Star break, and this is another guy, too, whose price tag has dropped significantly. I talked about J.D. Martinez the other day, obviously had a big night, and he's actually still pretty cheap tonight going up against Montgomery, another guy you could use to target against the Yankees pitching. But I like Meadows a little bit more in this one because Cal Quantrill, I know he did well in his last start, but he had a 7.58 ERA across his previous 4 starts. He allowed 4 home runs over 19 innings pitched. Meadows has a 904 OPS against right-handed pitching this season, and I know he got a couple hits last night, so moving in the right direction. So I think this is a get-right game for him, where he takes a big step back to where we start seeing him again in that 5K price range.
Meadows and Snell have actually been on our programs before here at DraftKings. They are friends of the show, so that's great that you guys mentioned them. All right, Steve, let's move on and find ourselves what you're doing with the next position, which would be a value play. What do you got?
Can you just mute everything on your computer? Like, you're hosting a show. Stop with all these little nuanced sounds and everything. You're just trying to get attention. Let's talk about Dylan Carlson, who's only $3,100 tonight, going up against Adbert Alzolay. Let me tell you something about Alzolay. If a lefty is going up to the plate to face him, it never goes well. For whatever reason, Alzolay cannot get lefties out. Against him on the season, a 393 WOBA, a 7.87 FIP, and 15 of the 18 home runs that he's allowed. So now we have Dylan Carlson, who's a rookie, a switch hitter, but if he's smart, he's going to be batting lefty against Alzolay. Now, Dylan Carlson really hasn't been doing a ton at the plate. I will say that. But for 3,100 in a split that Alzolay has just been absolutely putrid in, if you need to save some cash, Dylan Carlson at 3,100 tonight. Basically, if you're a lefty going against Alzolay and you're in that Cardinals lineup tonight, you should probably be putting them in your lineup. Make multiple lineups for all I care. You can do whatever you want. This is America. You don't have to make just one lineup. But lefties against Alzolay, Dylan Carlson, 3,100. That's what I think you should do for some value.
All right, Nick, what do you got to say?
I think Carlson is a good play tonight, especially at that price tag. And I actually didn't realize the Alzolay numbers too. So Steve obviously brings up a great point, but I still like Kike Hernandez more if I'm looking at straight value. 3.8K going up against Montgomery tonight. I said I want to target him in some capacity. And I know Kike hasn't done much against Montgomery and his limited chances against him, but he does better against left-handed pitching than right-handed pitching. He has 70 fewer plate appearances against left-handed pitching than right-handed pitching, yet he has 2 more home runs, 8 versus 6. And he's homered in the last 2 games against Toronto after a slow series versus New York. So he's a hot bat, and he's coming back home. He's done a little better at home this season. So I like Kike Hernandez as my value play tonight.